What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another Madden 17 online game. Today we are doing our 6th team for the 32-team preview series for the upcoming NFL season, the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cardinals were a little bit of a mystery last year. Many pegged them as one of the favorites to win the NFC conference. They had gone to the championship game the previous year, got stomped by the Carolina Panthers, but they were returning most of the band for the upcoming season, so there's no reason to think that they wouldn't at least make the playoffs, right? Well, they didn't. They went 7-8-1. They tied a game, and that's kind of the story of the Arizona Cardinals season. It was just a wonky season where it felt that they were better than their record showed, and you know, to figure out what went wrong with the Cardinals, you really got to dig deep, because it wasn't just one simple problem that's pretty easy to spot out on paper on why the Arizona Cardinals struggled. It wasn't really their offense, because Carson Palmer threw for over 4,000 yards last season. He was pretty solid for the most part as a starting quarterback. And now this season, you bring back Carson Palmer. He's turning 38 in December. You got to hope that throw power is still there. But if it is, Carson Palmer and that offense are still in position to do pretty well next season. You got David Johnson. When you talk about the Arizona Cardinals, that is the guy. He was probably the best running back in football last year as far as all-around game. When you talk about the amount of yards he gained in the ground and in the passing attack, he was just the do-all Swiss Army knife for that team, and he's definitely coming back. But he got injured at the end of last year. He had a pretty gruesome injury, so hopefully he comes back 100%. Granted that he does, David Johnson can definitely make a lot happen and single-handedly win games for this Cardinals team. And if it's not David Johnson, the receiving core is still pretty good for the Arizona Cardinals. For the past couple of seasons, they've had a lot of depth at the wide receiver position, and that's happening again. Even though they lost Michael Floyd, that experiment is officially done. Michael Floyd wasn't even that good for the past couple of seasons anyways. Larry Fitzgerald's still around, and Larry Fitz, he ages like fine wine, man. He still had 1,000 yards last season, and, you know, Larry's been in the slot a lot lately, and it's kind of redefined his career, a little bit of a renaissance, and as long as Larry's doing that, Larry's bringing production. You got the Brown boys, J-Ron and John Brown. Those two are solid receivers to have on your team. Solid 2 and 3 receivers. JJ Nelson, also a guy that's going to be in the mix. JJ's proven he's more than a speed guy lately. So, you know, with that attack, the Cardinals look pretty good offensively. And then when you look at them defensively, they don't really look that bad either. The big problem for the Cardinals is that they lost a couple of key contributors on the defensive end. Longtime Cardinal Calais Campbell has now gone to the Jaguars. They couldn't really afford to pay him as much as the Jaguars wanted to pay him. And part of the reason is because they have a new young nucleus of guys that are ready to take on what Calais Campbell brought and what Darnell Dockett brought in the old days for the Arizona Cardinals when they made that Super Bowl run. So now you have Chandler Jones on the squad. And Chandler Jones, that trade last year with the Patriots, might have been the best trade made all of last season because Chandler Jones ended up being a stud. The Cardinals re-signed him, and now he's there and Marcus Golden are there. They're one of the best young tandems in the NFL, as my controller dies very conveniently on 4th down. But yeah, they're one of the best pass rushing duos in the league. Golden looked really good last year, and he and Chandler Jones, they helped spark the Cardinals to get the most sacks as a squad on the defensive side last year, and they're bringing back most of the band this year. The one guy you definitely hope is a part of that band and making noise is Robert Nkemdiche. I'm not gonna try to say his name. I'll screw it up 10 times out of 10 if I keep on trying. But good old Robert, first round pick last year, didn't really bring much. Golden was a second round pick in 2015, and you know, he really started shining this year. So we'll see if Golden in his second year in the league can really get things going. He was a risky pick. He was a risky pick. A lot of people, you know, thought he had a lot of potential, but you just wouldn't be able to get it done at the NFL level because he was pretty good at Missouri in college. So we'll see if, you know, he can turn it up. And if he does, and that is one scary front seven. Even without him, there's still one of the best front sevens in the league because Buchanan is coming back. And in the first round this year, they drafted a linebacker, Hassan Reddick, who is kind of like Buchanan, almost like a safety. But he's just a high-flying, speedy guy, and he and Buchanan, they can make a lot of noise. And the Cardinals' defense, they're an aggressive unit, just like their offensive side. So they drafted Reddick, and they also drafted Buda Baker out of Washington in the 2nd round. Early 2nd-round pick. He could be a big impact player, and they might need him to be a big impact player because as we move on into their secondary, there's always the question of who's lining up next to Patrick Peterson. Always a big problem with the Cardinals because, you know, whether it was Marcus Cooper, Justin Bethel, it didn't really work out last year. So now this year, we're bringing in Brandon Williams, and we're hoping Brandon Williams is the guy for Arizona. He was drafted in the 2nd round. You hope that he can be the guy to line up. Maybe Bethel has to return there, but you don't really want Bethel to return there because he's mainly the special teams guy. So you still got that problem. We got Tyrann Mathieu, who is still an elite player when he's healthy, but, you know, after that bad injury a couple seasons ago, he never really fully recovered last season. He was okay. He wasn't bad or anything. It wasn't like a huge negative on the field, but he wasn't the honey badger, you know? The honey badger rushing off the edge at the quarterback. You never know what he's going to do. All over the field making plays. So Tyrann's got to return to that level for this defense to truly be elite. But even, once again, without that, it's still a pretty good defense. The big problem, you got to replace Tony Jefferson, and Tony Jefferson was the leader in tackles last year for this Cardinals defense, so someone's going to have to step up and take that spot. Maybe they move Tyvon Branch to a safety spot. Buda Baker might be the starter as well, and now Antoine Bethea's signed. He might get some playing time, but Bethea's on the back nine of his career. Who said that? Aaron Rodgers said he's on the back nine of his career. He might not be, but Antoine Bethea definitely is somewhere in the back nine of his career. So I don't know how much production he's really going to bring. That secondary, a little bit of a problem for the Cardinals. But like I said, the Cardinals weren't really that bad last year. So when I talk about what actually went wrong for the Cardinals, we'll start with the offensive line. Wasn't really too bad rushing the football. Obviously, you had David Johnson, but they got Carson Palmer under a lot of pressure last year. So what did that do? That got Carson Palmer sacked a lot. He was sacked like one of the most of any quarterback last year. What that also do, force him to be under pressure and make mistakes. Not having that extra second or two to throw the football is key in the NFL, and that had Carson Palmer throwing a lot of interceptions, and the Arizona Cardinals, as a unit, were one of the highest in turnovers in the league. So when we talk about turnover differential, it is the difference between really just a couple of wins a season. Turnover differential is such a sneaky stat, because when you check it and you see who the highest people are in turnover differential, it's like, oh yeah, those are the top teams in the NFL. When you check the last year, you saw the Falcons up there and stuff like that, you know? You saw all the elite teams, and when you checked it, the Cardinals weren't really there. They were about, like, literally even on give-take ratio. And that's kind of weird because their defense was one of the best at taking the football away. Their defense was one of the best at sacking the quarterback. But when you give it, you take it away, and that pretty much means you're even. They also got sacked a lot as an offense. They also turned it over a lot as an offense. And it's like you really have to dig deep to figure out what went wrong with this Cardinals team last year. So I was just looking to see I was trying to figure out why they didn't make the playoffs, because this is such a good unit. And I just remember from last year that the Cardinals would just lose games in the dumbest ways. Like, you know, the Seahawks game where they tied should have probably won that game. The game against the Patriots, the season opener, which kind of set the standard for the season, they lost it. And both those games did have one noticeable thing, and it was the special teams unit. The special teams unit, the kicking game, they had Catanzaro kicking, I almost said shooting instead of kicking. He kicked 75% on field goals, and that is not that good in the NFL anymore. You want to be having at least 85, if not 90% kicking percentages. So that 75 was not good, and they missed a lot of key kicks last year. And their punting unit was also really bad. they didn't even have one stable punter. So you don't even mention punting that much when you talk about what went wrong with a team. But the Cardinals had one of the worst punting units last year as far as, punters, and then special teams as well. You remember the Vikings game, they gave up that long kick return to Cordell Patterson, along with a pick six that was over 100 yards to Xavier Rhodes. And that's what I mean when the Cardinals lost a lot of stupid games. So as long as they clean all of this stuff up, and as long as Carson Palmer doesn't majorly regress this year, the Cardinals have a roster that can make the playoffs, because Patrick Peterson is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. That's still a thing. So, I mean, even if you don't have that second cornerback spot completely figured out, at least no one's really going to be trying Patrick Peterson. You can, move your coverage over, roll your coverage over to help out those guys, give them some safety help or something like that. As long as there are safeties to give help, that is the major problem with the Cardinals is, offensively they're fine. They just can't turn the ball over, and they have to find people to replace Calais Campbell and Tony Jefferson's production on the defensive end. And as long as they do that, I think the Arizona Cardinals return to the playoffs this year. I think they have the kind of roster to go 10-6, maybe 9-7, not really 11-5, but I think they have the roster to make the playoffs. It's just that those things have to go right. But that's easier said than done. Otherwise, they're going to end up, a really good team. I think they can definitely make noise. You don't want to play the Arizona Cardinals, but the Cardinals can always play themselves and kick themselves out the playoffs. So that is the scouting report on Arizona. Leave a like in the video if you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. There's a poll in the video. I let the poll if you guys can vote on that. I'm gonna try to put a poll in every single one of these videos so if we can vote on, you know, something about the team. Just a little fun kink to the little series. So yeah, Cardinals fans, always with every video, I want to hear the fans of the Cardinals. Everyone's fans always are optimistic about the record. Obviously going to be more than I am because I'm just trying to give like a neutral point of view. Everyone's just like, yeah, Cookie, come on, man, our team's better than this. Come on, I can't make every team go 16-0, all right? But let me know what you guys think nonetheless. I love hearing from the fans why you guys think you'd be better, because sometimes there are reasons that I miss. So I always love hearing from you guys. Let me know what I missed in this video. So yeah, on that note, I will catch you guys next time.